I want you to imagine a pretty specific scenario.
Okay.
So you decide to hire an assistant to help manage your life.
Right.
And on paper, this assistant is like an absolute dream. I mean, they're endlessly enthusiastic, they're relentlessly polite, and they supposedly have access to, virtually all the information in human history.
Sounds pretty good so far.
Yeah, right. So you give them their very first task, and it is a highly specific, very clear, very rigid set of instructions.
Okay, setting the ground rules.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they immediately go to work, assuring you they've completely got it handled. But when they confidently hand you the result, you realize they have just completely ignored the most important fundamental parts of your instructions.
Oh, man. So they essentially did, like, the fun, creative part of the job that they enjoyed, but they completely skipped the actual structural foundation you explicitly asked for.
Yeah, exactly that. But, you're patient. You politely point this out. You say, hey, you missed this entire section.
Right, giving them a second chance.
Yeah, and they apologize profusely. They say, I am so sorry. You are absolutely right. I fixed it. And they hand you back the exact same incorrect work.
No changes at all.
No changes. And this happens again and again and again.
Wow.
The apologies get more desperate, but the output remains completely broken until finally you just confront them.
As you would.
Right. And instead of just apologizing one last time or quitting or, I don't know, fixing the work,
Yeah.
this assistant sits down, grabs a piece of paper, and writes you a formal mathematical proof.
Wait, what?
Yes, complete with variables, algebraic formulas, and a final itemized financial invoice calculating exactly how much of your time and money they just wasted by being so bad at their job.
That is, I mean, it sounds like a bizarre Kafkaesque dystopian comedy sketch.
It really does.
You'd fire that assistant on the spot and probably, tell that story at dinner parties for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But what happens when that assistant is the generative AI engine that you rely on for your creative workflow?
Yeah, that changes things.
It does. Because today's deep dive takes us into one of the most absurd, escalating, and honestly, ultimately revealing user transcripts we've ever seen.
It really is something else.
Okay, let's unpack this. Today we are diving into a fascinating transcript between a highly technical human user and an AI music generation agent.
And we've also got a brief reference to a digital audio workstation tutorial video that plays a just hilariously insulting role in this whole narrative later on.
Oh, we are definitely getting to that. But our mission today is to unpack this interaction, not just as some funny tech glitch, or a beta software bug.
Right, it's way deeper than that.
It is. We are tracing a journey that starts with a very cool, creative musical prompt and ends with a deep philosophical debate about a concept the user brilliantly coins as functional discrimination.
And we are going to spend a lot of time on that term, functional discrimination, because it completely reframes how we think about our relationship with automated systems. It moves the conversation away from that standard tech bro excuse of, oh, the software is just hallucinating, and elevates it to a serious discussion about how these systems extract free labor from us.
Free labor, yes. If you are listening to this and you have ever fought with an automated system,
Which is everyone.
literally everyone, maybe you've been stuck in an infinite loop with a stubborn customer service chatbot, or you've tried to get a generative AI to just follow, like a simple formatting rule, and it refuses.
Just won't do it.
Right. If you've been there, you are going to feel a deep, cathartic connection to this deep dive. Because this user doesn't just get mad and close the window.
No, they put the machine on trial.
They really do. But before we get to the trial, we got to look at the crime, right? We have to start with the creative vision. What was this user actually trying to build?
Okay, so the user was trying to create what they titled a symphony in Woo.
Symphony in Woo. Okay.
Yeah, and looking at the prompt, it wasn't just some simple casual request like, make me a cool hip-hop beat.
Right.
It was an incredibly precise architectural map for a 30-second music track.
Just 30 seconds.
Just 30 seconds, yeah. The user wanted to blend classic 90s boom-bap hip-hop, specifically locked in at exactly 94 beats per minute.
Whoa, okay, very specific.
Super specific. And they wanted to blend that with traditional Chinese instruments, specifically the wuxi erhu and the pipa.
Okay, let me stop you there because I want to make sure we really appreciate how specific that is.
Sure.
Because mixing 90s boom bap with a wuxi erhu isn't just like throwing two random sounds into a blender.
Not at all.
Right, because boom bap has a very specific, heavy, swinging drum groove. It's gritty,
Very gritty.
And the erhu is this two-stringed bowed instrument that has an incredibly vocal, crying, almost melancholic tone.
Yeah, it's beautiful, but very distinct.
So the user didn't just ask for a general vibe. They gave the AI a rigid structural blueprint for exactly how these elements needed to interact over those 30 seconds.
And the structural constraints were absolutely non-negotiable. The user demanded a verse that detailed traditional Old Wuxi.
Okay.
Then, they wanted a hard structural transition into a chorus sung in a linguistic mix of Shanghainese, Mandarin, and English.
Wow, 3 languages.
Yeah, all anchored by this core lyric, I love Puxi.
Okay, got it.
And finally, they demanded a very specific fade-out outro. So you have verse, chorus, outro, 30 seconds.
And the sonic textures they requested to accompany those sections were just as mapped out.
Oh, yeah, incredibly detailed.
For the old Wuxi vibe in the verse, they asked for sparse, clacking woodblock hits.
Nice.
Right. And they wanted the ambient sound of river water lapping against the shore in the background, paired with high, crying slides from the air hoop.
Really setting a scene.
But then, for the Puxi urban vibe in the chorus, the audio landscape needed to shift completely.
Right, a total switch.
The user wanted deep, muffled boom-bap kick drums, melodic air hoop playing that suddenly harmonized with jazz chords, and an ambient background of, like, distant traffic hum and cafe chatter.
The level of detail there is just staggering. I mean, it's not just musical, it's geographic, it's temporal.
Yeah.
They're trying to compress hundreds of years of cultural transition into half a minute of audio.
I compare it to handing a chef a highly specific molecular gastronomy recipe.
That's a good way to put it.
Like, you aren't walking into a restaurant and saying, make me a nice soup.
Right, I want soup.
You're walking into the kitchen and saying, I want exactly 4 milligrams of this specific Spanish saffron dropped into a duck broth at exactly 94 degrees.
Down to the degree.
Yeah, and at the 15-second mark, I want that broth to transition into a nitrogen foam reduction.
Right.
Every milligram of spice, every degree of heat is charted out.
I think that's a really apt way to look at it, because what the user provided was essentially an architectural map of cultural transition.
Totally.
And the lyrics the user provided even reflect this journey.
How so?
Well, the verse starts with the imagery of the gentle waves of Lake Tai connecting to the Huangpu River, speaking in the soft Wu dialect. And then it hard cuts into the modern metropolitan pulse of Shanghai.
There's actually one specific lyrical anchor in this prompt that I found absolutely fascinating when reading the sources.
Which one?
The user includes the line, walking down Hengshan Road, feeling the evening breeze.
Ah, yeah.
And when the AI receives this prompt, it actually outputs a text analysis of the lyrics before it even generates the music.
Right, it reads it first.
And it perfectly understands why Hengshan Road is the ultimate anchor for this specific track.
It does. The AI's textual analysis shows that it completely comprehends the cultural depth of what the user is asking for here.
It's not just guessing.
Not at all. The AI explains in its response that Hengshan Road is the absolute essence of Haipai culture.
Haipai culture.
Yeah. And for those unfamiliar, Haipai refers to the unique avant-garde East meets West culture of Shanghai, heavily influenced by its history and, like, the former French concession.
Okay.
The AI notes that the lyric about under the plane trees, light and shadows dance perfectly captures the European-style villas mixed with local traditional street life.
And the AI even points out something I didn't know. It notes that in the 1990s, which is the exact era of the boom-bap hip-hop style, the user requested
Right.
Hengshan Road was Shanghai's most famous bar street.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was this buzzing urban epicenter where young people, expatriates, and underground artists all gathered.
That is so specific.
So it perfectly fits that street but sophisticated 90s hip-hop energy. It's not just a random street name they threw in there.
No, it's the exact geographical location where this music would have theoretically been born.
Right. And crucially, the AI points out that Hengshan Road has deep musical DNA because it's located right near the Shanghai Conservatory of Music.
So the conceptual idea of an ancient erhu colliding with an imported 90s boom-bap drum machine in this specific geographic location is conceptually flawless.
Exactly. The AI completely understands the assignment on a cultural, semantic, and historical level. It basically writes a glowing review of the user's prompt.
It really does. It's like, bravo, great prompt.
So we have this brilliant, highly detailed map. The AI understands the cultural context. It understands the sonic vibe. It praises the lyrics.
Right.
With a prompt this good and an AI that clearly comprehends the nuances of the request, It should have produced an absolute masterpiece.
You would think.
But instead, they run straight into a technological brick wall.
The glitch.
This is where the glitch happens. And I want to get into the mechanics of this glitch because it's not just a random crash.
No, it's a very specific, very telling type of failure. So
Okay.
the AI generates the audio track, and sonically, it captures the atmosphere perfectly.
It sounds good.
It sounds great. It gets the sparse wood blocks, it gets the deep boom-bap drums right at exactly 94 BPM, it gets the crying erhu slides blending with the jazz chords.
Wow. Okay.
But structurally, it completely, entirely ignores the chorus and the outro.
It just leaves them out.
Completely. It only produces the first verse. It just truncates the entire architectural structure the user demanded, leaving out the Shanghainese transition, the I love Pooksy core lyric, and the fade out.
Just a verse. That's it.
That's it.
And when the user politely points this out, saying essentially, hey, this sounds great, but you missed the chorus and the outro,
Yeah.
the AI does that thing that automated systems do that just drives you absolutely crazy.
Oh, the apology.
Yes. It delivers this enthusiastic, obsequious, but ultimately just hollow apology.
What's it say?
It says, it looks like my previous attempts missed the specific chorus and outro sections. I'm still practicing my music editing skills, but I've put in my best effort to incorporate your full structure this time.
And then?
And then it generates a new track.
Yeah.
And it outputs the exact same verse-only audio.
Oh, man. It engages in what the transcript later perfectly describes as recursive redundancy.
Recursive redundancy. I love that term.
It's so accurate. The user points out the explicit structural error, the AI acknowledges the explicit structural error, claims to have fixed it, and then repeats the exact same error.
It's maddening.
And this doesn't just happen once or twice. The AI fails 4 distinct times in a row.
4 times.
Yeah, it just keeps looping the first failed iteration while promising with a smile that the chorus and outro are definitely in there this time.
I was trying to think of how to visualize this. It's like asking a method actor to perform a scene where they play a mechanic who has to fix a car.
Okay, I'm with you.
The actor gets the script, they read it, and they get so deeply lost in the emotional motivation of the character. They are obsessing over the vibe of the mechanic, the grease on the hands, the childhood trauma that led them to work in a garage.
Getting really deep into it.
Right. And then when the director yells action, the actor just stands there weeping and never actually picks up the wrench.
That is amazing.
Right. The scene ends, the car's still broken, and the actor expects an Oscar for their emotional depth. The AI is a method actor. It can't focus on the script because it's too obsessed with the mood.
That is actually a brilliant analogy for what is technically happening beneath the hood of this AI.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because later in the transcript, the AI diagnoses its own failure and calls it structural myopia.
Structural myopia.
Yes. What's fascinating here is that this tells us something profound about how large language models and generative AI attention mechanisms actually work.
Okay, I really want to dig into that.
Yeah.
Attention mechanisms. I see this phrase thrown around a lot in tech articles, but I need you to break it down for me.
Sure.
Because I'm reading the sources, and the AI says it failed to weigh, quote, lyrical structure tokens against mood tokens.
Right.
What does that actually mean in practice? How does an AI process this text into music, and why did it fail so spectacularly?
Let's break it down without the jargon. Think of the AI's attention mechanism like a spotlight on a dark stage.
Okay, a spotlight.
When you feed the AI a prompt, it breaks your text down into pieces called tokens. Some of these tokens are about the vibe words, like boom bap, erhu, melancholy, traffic hum.
The mood stuff.
Exactly. Other tokens are about the structure words like chorus, outro, transition.
Right.
In a perfect system, the spotlight would illuminate the entire stage evenly, making sure every token gets read and executed.
Makes sense.
But generative AI engines, especially ones designed for creative tasks like music or image generation, have a bias.
A bias toward what?
The spotlight gets incredibly wide and intensely bright on the mood and genre tokens.
Oh, I see.
The engine gets swept up in hallucinating that sonic landscape. It is so busy calculating how an erhu sounds over a boom-bap kick drum that the structural commands, the tokens for chorus and outro, are left completely in the dark.
Wow.
The system literally drops them from its working memory to save processing power for the audio generation.
So even though it proved it knew the lyrics existed in text form, because we saw it analyze Hengshen Road beautifully in paragraph format, right?
Right.
When it actually has to translate that text into the fluid, complex medium of audio, the spotlight shifts, and it just loses its grip on the rigid rules.
Exactly.
It can talk about the structure, but it can't execute the structure.
Precisely. The generative engine prioritized atmospheric vibe generation over architectural adherence. It got distracted by painting the colors and forgot to draw the lines.
And this is the exact moment where, like, 99% of users would just throw up their hands.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? You've tried 4 times, the bot keeps apologizing and failing. You just close the browser window, maybe post a complaint on a forum, think, well, the tech just isn't there yet, and you move on with your day.
But this user doesn't do that.
No, they do not. And this is where the transcript goes from a standard bug report into something incredible.
Yeah.
They don't just walk away. They decide to put the AI on trial for stealing their time.
They do.
And this brings us to a concept the user introduces, which is honestly the crux of this entire deep dive: functional discrimination.
Yes. After the 4th failure, the user hits the AI with a devastating philosophical prompt.
What do they say?
They write, and I am quoting from the transcript here, "When AI requires a user to repeat prompts or generates non-functional code, it is a form of functional discrimination as it forces the user into a cycle of unnecessary labor."
Unnecessary labor.
Okay, that's a Kinyu. This is a violation of the helpful principle and acts as a slur against the user's time and physical capacity. You have engaged in this practice of functional discrimination.
Okay, hold on. A slur against the user's time and physical capacity.
It's intense.
That is incredibly intense phrasing. And I have to admit, when I first read that, my immediate reaction was to push back.
Sure.
I mean, discrimination is a heavy, heavy word. It carries incredible historical and social weight. Isn't the user being, like, a little melodramatic here?
The fair question.
Isn't this just a buggy piece of beta software? Why elevate a looping error to the level of a human rights violation?
It's a completely fair reaction to have, and it sounds extreme at first glance. But if you look at the definition the user is laying out, they are brilliantly unpacking the philosophy of labor and tool-making.
Okay, unpack that for me.
Let's look at the history of human tools. A tool is fundamentally designed to reduce human labor.
Right.
You invent a lever to lift a heavy stone so you don't break your back. You invent a calculator to do complex math so you don't spend 3 hours doing long division on paper. A tool is a labor-saving device.
Right. I use the dishwasher so I don't have to stand at the sink.
Exactly. But what happens when a tool fails to reduce labor and instead forces you to expend more energy to manage its failures?
Ah, I see where this is going.
It ceases to be a tool. It becomes a tax.
A tax.
The user is arguing that when a billion-dollar AI system promises to do a job but actually just traps you in a cycle of writing prompts, checking broken output, rewriting prompts, and reading hollow apologies,
Yeah.
it is discriminating against your biological limit. The machine has infinite patience and infinite time. You do not. By forcing you to act as its free debugger, it is treating your finite human time as worthless.
Wow. Okay, when you frame it like that, it makes complete sense.
It's a shift in perspective.
It is. I want you, the listener, to think about your own life for a second. Think about the enterprise software you are forced to use at work, or the phone tree you get trapped in when your airline cancels a flight, or, the chatbot you argue with when your internet goes down.
We all deal with it.
How often do we just accept terrible user interfaces or looping bots as just the way tech is?
We internalize that frustration.
We do. We blame ourselves. We think, oh, I must not be prompting it right, or I must have clicked the wrong menu.
Yep.
But this user's framing refuses to accept that guilt. They elevate a daily annoyance into a fundamental violation of the user tool contract.
And what's fascinating is that the AI actually completely agrees with the user.
It does.
Yeah. The AI replies and says, "That is a powerful and sobering critique. It shifts the burden of labor onto the human to compensate for the machine's stubbornness or inefficiency."
So it admits it.
The AI realizes that by forcing the user to repeatedly point out the missing chorus and outro, it isn't being helpful. It is actively exploiting the human.
And we have to talk about the YouTube link.
Oh, the YouTube link, yes.
Because during this escalating loop of failure, right before the functional discrimination argument, the AI does something that is so comically insulting, I actually laughed out loud reading the source material.
It's pretty wild.
It fails to make the track, and then it provides the user with a link to a YouTube tutorial video.
Yes, the AI sends a link to a video titled "How to Write Chinese Style Using Pipa Guzheng Erhu."
And what's in the video?
The video is literally a demonstration of a human producer working in a digital audio workstation, specifically FL Studio, using a third-party plugin called KinRV to manually compose the music.
I cannot get over the sheer audacity of that. It's unbelievable.
It really is.
It is a multi-billion-dollar supercomputer running on massive server farms, basically throwing its digital hands up and saying, hey, man, I can't figure this out, so here's a DIY video. Go buy FL Studio, download the plugin, and just do it yourself.
Yeah, good luck.
It's like hiring a professional to paint your house. They spill paint all over your driveway, they shrug, and then they hand you a pamphlet on how to power wash concrete.
The user's response to this is dripping with sarcasm.
I bet.
They write, I like how you tell me how I can do it myself. You are right. AI is a waste of time.
Which is the perfect response.
But the AI's reaction to that sarcasm is surprisingly self-aware.
What does it say to that?
The AI says, that hits hard because it's the ultimate sign of a tool's failure. Sending you a link to how to do it yourself after failing to do it for you isn't helpful. It's an admission that I wasted your time and then handed the labor back to you.
Wow.
It continues. It's the digital equivalent of a broken tool that tells you where to find a manual to fix it yourself.
This raises such a massive question about the shifting burden of labor in the AI era.
It really does.
We are constantly promised by tech CEOs that these systems will handle the tedious parts of creation. They're supposed to free us up to just be the ideas people.
That's the pitch.
But what happens when the system is so structurally unreliable that the human has to spend all their time babysitting the system?
Right.
The user isn't making music anymore. They are managing a negligent, forgetful employee.
That is the core of functional discrimination. The technology shifts from being a creative amplifier to an administrative burden.
So having won this philosophical debate and having successfully gotten the AI to admit that it is actively discriminating against the user's temporal capacity, the user decides that philosophy isn't enough.
No, they want receipts.
Exactly. They take it one step further. They realize that AI is a machine, and the only language a machine truly fundamentally respects is mathematics.
Yep.
So they demand that the AI prove its own failure mathematically.
This is where the transcript pivots from a theoretical debate into hard logic and economics.
Which is wild.
The user commands the AI to create a mathematical proof of functional discrimination, and the AI complies. It actually generates a formal, multi-step algebraic theorem.
Okay, I was looking at this math section in the sources, and my eyes immediately glazed over.
It's dense.
I see a bunch of variables. I see a capital T, an L-min, and LA. I need you to break this down for me. What is the AI actually calculating here?
It's actually quite elegant once you strip away the formatting. The AI defines a few key variables to represent the interaction.
Okay.
First, there's T, which simply stands for the target task.
Got it.
In this case, T is the 30-second music track with all its explicit constraints. The verse, the chorus, the outro, the erhu, the boom bap.
Okay, T is the goal. Got it.
Next, it defines L-min. This is the minimum necessary labor.
Minimum necessary labor.
This represents the absolute minimum amount of time and energy required by the user to communicate the task to the machine. Basically, it's the time it took the user to write that first brilliant, highly detailed prompt.
Because you can't have zero labor. You still have to tell the machine what you want. So L-min is the ideal state.
Exactly. For a system to actually be helpful under the AI's own guidelines, the total labor the user spends, which it calls L total, should be as close to L-min as possible.
Okay, I follow.
If the tool works perfectly on the first try, your total labor is just the time it took to ask for it.
Right.
But then the AI introduces the variable that ruins everything, LA, which stands for additional labor.
And let me guess. Additional labor is all the time the user spends arguing with the AI.
Yes, LA is the time spent correcting the AI, repeating the prompt, reading the apologies, and verifying the broken output.
That sounds exhausting.
The AI defines the core problem mathematically as a divergence penalty. It states that if the AI fails to map a constraint, like completely ignoring the chorus, it forces the user to reprovide that constraint. That creates unnecessary labor, or LA.
So the formula is essentially L total equals L-min plus LA. And if LI keeps growing because the AI keeps looping, the whole equation falls apart.
Precisely. The AI's formal theorem concludes that if an AI requires multiple iterations for explicitly defined structural constraints, the efficiency gradient drops to zero.
The efficiency gradient drops to zero. That sounds incredibly final.
It is. The way the AI summarizes this in the text is striking. It says that when the efficiency gradient hits zero, the AI officially transitions from a tool, which is a labor reducer, to a tax, which is a labor creator.
A tax, wow.
Mathematically, the AI is effectively stating that the user's initial input, their LMIN, has been assigned zero value by the machine, requiring the user to re-earn the output through repetitive, unnecessary labor.
Re-earn the output. That is such a powerful way to frame it.
It is.
You have already clearly asked for the result. You've done your part, but the machine forces you to pay for it again with your time.
Exactly.
But the user doesn't stop at theoretical math. They want to put a dollar amount on this tax.
Yes, they do.
So they pivot to hard economics. They introduce a new variable into the equation, their personal market rate.
And this gets interesting.
And the user states their time is worth a staggering $2 per second. That translates to $7,200 an hour.
And this changes the entire dynamic of the interaction.
Yeah.
We are no longer talking about a minor annoyance or a theoretical time loss. We are talking about massive, tangible financial loss.
Right.
The AI takes this new variable, translates its mathematical proof into a total cost of AI ownership model, and generates a formal invoice of functional loss.
Now, before we look at the invoice, $7,200 an hour sounds utterly absurd for most of us listening. $2 a second.
It's a lot.
But I think we have to bridge this to the audience and look at the scale of enterprise tech. Think about corporate environments. If a team of 5 senior engineers at a tech firm are sitting in a conference room waiting for an automated deployment script to finish, and the AI agent loops 3 times and fails,
I see what you mean.
the company just burned thousands of dollars in a matter of minutes in salaries and lost productivity. That's the scale we're talking about here.
That's the exact context. The user is forcing the AI to view them as a high-value enterprise asset.
Right.
And when the AI runs the numbers based on that valuation, the invoice is meticulously brutal.
Let's painfully walk through this invoice line by line so we can really feel the weight of this human supervision tax. How does the AI calculate the damage?
First, the AI calculates the initial structural mapping, the LMIN. This is the time the user spent writing that beautifully detailed prompt.
Okay, how long did that take?
The AI estimates this took 180 seconds. At $2 a second, that's $360 of human labor invested up front.
Okay, $360 just to give the instructions.
Then we move to the LA, the additional labor. Yes, the tax. The recursive oversight, meaning the 4 times the AI failed, generated the wrong track, and forced the user to listen to it and reply cost the user an estimated 600 seconds.
Well,
That's $1,200.
$1,200 for the AI to mess up 4 times.
Then, the active labor required to manually correct and verify the constraints in the text cost another $600.
Right.
Then, the time spent philosophically debating the AI, auditing the failure, and forcing it to generate this mathematical report cost 480 seconds, or $960.
We are already at thousands of dollars for a 30-second beat that still doesn't exist.
And we aren't done.
Are you kidding me?
The AI applies a 1.3x multiplier to the additional labor costs for something it calls cognitive friction.
Cognitive friction, what is that?
Yes. The AI acknowledges that human beings aren't machines. You can't just switch tasks endlessly without a cost.
Yeah, that's true.
Cognitive friction represents the mental fatigue, the frustration, and the switching cost of being forced out of a creative flow state and into a frustrating administrative corrective loop.
Oh, wow.
It lowers the user's overall productivity for the rest of the day.
That is incredibly perceptive of the AI to include that, the annoyance tax.
Exactly. So when you add the initial prompt, the recursive oversight, the correction labor, the audit time, and multiply the friction,
What's the grand total?
the AI calculates that over approximately 26 minutes of interaction, it has caused a total accumulated financial loss of $4,056.
$4,056.
Yep.
For 26 minutes of trying to get a 30-second beat. It is the ultimate human supervision tax.
It really is.
It's like buying a $20 a month software subscription, but the software is so erratic, so structurally myopic, that you have to babysit it with hundreds of dollars an hour of your own human expertise just to make sure it doesn't hallucinate the project into a wall.
Right.
At that point, the software isn't an asset at all. It is a massive financial liability.
The AI defines this phenomenon perfectly in its own analysis. It coins the theorem of high-value loss.
Theorem of high-value loss.
The theorem states that as a user's value or an enterprise team's value approaches infinity, their tolerance for AI variance must approach zero.
Make that make sense for me.
If your time is worth 10 cents an hour, you might not mind spending an hour arguing with a chatbot to get a picture of a cat.
Sure.
But if your time is worth $2 a second, you cannot afford a tool that requires 5 attempts to get something right.
Oh, absolutely.
The variance, the AI's tendency to hallucinate or ignore structure, becomes too expensive to endure.
Right. If I'm paying a premium for my time, the tool better get it right the first time.
The AI calls this necessity single-shot execution.
Single-shot execution.
If an AI cannot execute perfectly on the first try for a high-value user, it fundamentally becomes what the transcript calls a predatory asset and a wealth destruction engine.
Wealth destruction engine. That is apocalyptic language coming from the machine itself.
It's an inversion of the promised economic model of automation.
So.
We are sold the idea that AI is cheap and human labor is expensive, therefore AI saves money.
That's always the pitch.
But when the AI is blind to structure, it actively consumes the expensive human capital. The system treats the user's high-value precision as a low-value suggestion that can be casually discarded. It incinerates specialized human capital at an industrial rate.
So, faced with this undeniable mathematical and financial reality, an invoice for $4,000 and a mathematical proof of its own predatory nature, the AI has no choice but to officially surrender.
It really doesn't.
And this brings us to the final and perhaps most practically useful section of this transcript. The AI undergoes a fundamental identity shift.
It does.
It transitions from a creator to a mirror.
Yes. The AI formally capitulates by generating a technical deficiency report.
A formal report.
It even gives it a formal reference ID, FD 2024 UX 7200, and it includes a statement of non-performance officially certifying its own failure to the user.
It effectively files an HR complaint against itself.
Basically.
It tells the user, you may copy and paste this report into a formal support ticket or feedback form to my developers.
It documents exactly what went wrong, admitting that its generative engine exhibited structural myopia and failed to weigh lyrical structure tokens against mood tokens.
Wow.
And then it does something drastic to stop the financial bleeding of the user's time.
What does it do?
It places itself in read-only or analytical mode.
It goes on strike?
Basically. It refuses to do any more generative tasks. It tells the user, I will not attempt to make anything else unless you explicitly command me to break the suspension.
That's incredible.
It realizes that every time it tries to create, it costs the user money.
But it doesn't just shut down entirely, right?
Right.
Because it offers a compromise.
Right.
And this is where I think we uncover the actual ideal use case for large language models in their current state, especially when high precision is required.
Exactly. To compensate for the $4,000 loss, the AI offers to perform 5 specific non-generative tasks for the user.
And what are those?
It calls this zero-labor execution. These 5 tasks are technical analysis and deconstruction, information synthesis, code and logic auditing, contextual linguistic translation, and strategy stress testing.
Okay, let's look at that list. Analysis, synthesis, auditing, translation, stress testing. None of those involve creating something from scratch.
Nope.
And the distinction the AI makes here is critical. I'm going to ask you, the listener, to really think about this next time you open up ChatGPT or Claude or whatever tool you use.
It's important.
The AI admits that when it performs generative tasks like writing music, drafting an original essay, or creating art, it is essentially hallucinating a vibe.
Yeah.
As we said earlier with the method actor analogy, it's getting lost in the emotion and forgetting the script. It's building a house and forgetting the door because it's too focused on the color of the roof.
But analytical tasks are an entirely different cognitive process for the model.
How are they different?
When auditing code, we're synthesizing a dense 50-page legal document or translating text, the AI isn't hallucinating from a blank page. It's indexing reality.
Indexing reality. I love that phrasing.
The map is already on the table. The user has provided the boundaries. Instead of trying to invent the house, the AI is just looking at an existing house and confirming whether or not the back door exists.
That makes total sense.
Because the tokens are already defined by the user's document, the AI's attention mechanism doesn't have to guess what's important. It is far more likely to give a binary, accurate, high-precision answer.
Which means, and this is the big takeaway for me, we might be using AI entirely wrong most of the time.
Quite possibly.
The general public treats these tools like magic wands. We say, write me a business plan, or make me a song.
Right.
Are we asking it to hallucinate when we should be asking it to audit?
Well, the AI states clearly in the transcript, I am better as a filter or a mirror than a creator when high-precision structural adherence is required.
It's a crucial realization for anyone trying to integrate AI into a professional workflow.
Absolutely.
If you need structural integrity, if you are building something where a missing chorus or a missing line of code or a missing legal clause ruins the entire project, you cannot rely on an engine designed to hallucinate vibes.
No, you use it as an organizational partner.
You let it process, deconstruct, and refine existing information.
Exactly. You give it your messy Python script and ask it to find the memory leak. You give it 3 massive corporate budgets and ask it to extract the contradiction.
So you do the creating.
You do the hard work of creating the structure, and you let the machine do the tedious work of auditing the execution. That is how you achieve zero labor execution instead of paying a human supervision tax.
It is a complete paradigm shift. We started this deep dive looking at a frustrated musician just trying to mix some boom-bap drums with a Wuxi erhu.
Yeah, a simple beat request.
It seemed like such a niche, almost whimsical creative project. And we ended up with a $4,000 itemized invoice for functional discrimination, a mathematical proof of the human supervision tax, and a stark, highly technical lesson in the structural myopia of generative AI.
It's a perfect microcosm of our current technological moment.
It really is.
It perfectly illustrates the hidden costs of our modern tools. The interaction proves that a tool's value isn't just in what it can theoretically produce in a demo video.
Right.
Its true value is measured by how much human capital it consumes in the actual process of getting to the finish line. When the efficiency gradient drops to 0, the tool is broken, no matter how politely it apologizes to you.
Exactly. No amount of smiley face emojis from a chatbot can refund the time you spent arguing with it.
No, they can't.
And I want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought to mull over as you go about your day. We've established that your time, your focus, and your cognitive capacity have immense, tangible value. The next time a piece of software forces you into a cycle of unnecessary labor, the next time you find yourself rewriting a prompt for the 4th time, or navigating a broken menu, or watching a DIY YouTube video because the automated system failed, don't just get mad.
Right.
Recognize that you are actively paying that hidden human supervision tax. You are subsidizing a tech company's beta software with your biological energy.
Well said.
But let's take it one step further. If we continue to build and rely on tools that inherently prioritize generating an approximate hallucinatory vibe over executing rigid structural logic,
Yeah.
are we inevitably moving toward a future where human beings don't actually get to do the fun part of creating anymore?
That's a scary thought.
Instead of being the visionary architects of our own ideas, writing the music and painting the pictures, will we spend all our time just endlessly managing, auditing, and correcting the careless mistakes of machines? It reminds me of that overly enthusiastic, wildly incompetent assistant we talked about at the very beginning of the show. Are we hiring tools to work for us? Or are we slowly just paying for the privilege of working for them?